beauties, it's your girl JaNey's House of Beauty, and I'm back with another segment. Happy New Year for everyone for 2024. We made it to another year. I am coming back with another video on wig making tutorial, but this time I am not making my lace front from scratch with the bundles and the frontal. I have manufactured lace front wigs that I'm just upgrading to them and adding more hair to it. Okay. If you want to see that in this video here, stay tuned. Coming up. Okay, so the original plan for the bundles that I was going to incorporate into the lace front would actually have to be the exact grayish, blue grayish color that the lace front is. This color actually reminds me of one of my other units. But what I did with the past one is I didn't even use silky straight hair to incorporate into the lace front. I used a loose wave texture, and since I didn't have the exact color because it's so hard to find the bundles in the grayish purple color, I actually just went with the jet black, and that did pretty well with my last lace front. So I'm very sure that the color, it wouldn't affect the color of the lace front because it's such a vibrant color anyway. You're still going to see the gray, purples, and blues in the lace. And to make it easier on myself, as you'll see me here, I'm just basically flat ironing the loose wave bundle before I sew each one into the track. I'm still going to go through and flat iron again, but just to make sure I'm not mixing that loose wave immediately with the silky straight. I'm aware that, once, heat gets added to it and everything, that the loose wave might revert back. But that creates volume to the style in itself by having a different pattern of hair in there. Not too much of a crazy wave, but a loose wave. That would add a little bit more volume in the back of the lace. Okay, so I basically like to periodically look through the hair as I'm adding to make sure that I'm not making the lace front too bulky. And what I mean is, when I first start with my first tracks, I start from the crown area, which means maybe 5 or 6 rows back from the actual lace on the lace front. That keeps me from making it too bulky in the back. I already have hair there, so I'm focused on making it fuller, which means that I will be focusing on the crown area of the lace front. So I don't want to go too far down. I'd rather go too far up and then just add more tracks back if I need to. That's probably why I really wasn't feeling my last upgrade, because now that I remember, I started a little bit too far back with my last lace front upgrade, and it just didn't have the fullness that I was looking for. And this technique I used on this one made this one look very good and very natural, and it still wasn't bulky, so I really didn't have to worry about that, because I do. Even though I have been sewing for years, it still gets kind of tricky when it comes to that certain curve in the front of the lace front, because you still want to see some of that hair from the bundle in the front on the sides, but you don't technically want to sew anything to your lace. That could really compromise the lace and mess up the lace front altogether. So remind you, we're only sewing the bundle to the actual wig part, that the tracks are already sewed in with a seam. Never add anything to your lace when it comes to sewing. That is not how you incorporate hair. I personally would use a hair ventilation needle for that technique, but it's so much more to ventilating than meets the eye. I've tried it before, but it's more technical and it takes so much time to actually ventilate hair strand by strand. I think that was my first lace where I tried to do that, and it was completely time consuming. So I find this as easily as effective. Another technique that I use when I'm sewing, I try to keep my stitches as close together as possible. The reason for that is one, that it gives the bundles a more secure fit to the actual lace front. And secondly, after your style is done, the last thing you want is to comb through your lace and you hook one of those bundles, or you hook one of those threads that you haven't tightly woven together. So I try to keep my stitches as close together as possible, and that also gives me a flatter install. One thing I neglected to show you guys is my T-pinning, how I pin the lace front to the mannequin. How you pin your lace front to the mannequin is completely important, because you don't want to not stretch the lace out and then you gather too much of the lace and you end up making the actual unit smaller than what it started off. So I usually, and if you want to see it in my previous videos, I show you how to T-pin. But I put three T-pins in the front, one in the middle, one on both sides, and then in the back, I will add two T-pins on each side to hold the lace securely to my mannequin. That way I'm not sewing too much of my lace when I'm adding the bundle, and then that'll ruin everything and I will have to start over. Notice how when I pull my thread through the loop, I tighten them very securely to make sure that I don't have any loose running thread, and to make sure I pull that thread completely through. Because like I said before, the last thing you want to do is put a comb through your hairstyle and you catch a loop or a snag of thread. That's not what you want. So every time you do that loop in to lock the stitch, you want to pull tight enough to make sure that you don't have any loops while you're sewing. Now, I don't have no super technical way of sewing, but I do have a method. Every time I go in with my needle and come out, in order to lock the thread, I go in between the two threads behind that. So the needle is going to go in between the loop, and I'm going to pull up, and it's going to lock when I pull it tight enough. That way I'm not doing any double knotting or anything like that. But by me going in between that loop and coming up and pulling, I'm knotting it. So I'm only using one knot each time I come back up with the thread, but I am securely knotting it each time I pull through. I can say it gets a bit tedious when you're sewing, especially when it comes to making a lace front from scratch. But the results are rewarding because of the fact that you can make your own, and once you get into the rhythm of actually sewing, it becomes nothing to you. But honestly, the reason why I do this is because I still appreciate a manufactured lace front and the way that they're set up. And it takes me less time to upgrade a manufactured lace front for potential customers and myself, and not have to take about 3 to 4 hours and able to do it. And it's less materials. I know the people that have been following me for a while, they remember me actually doing some of my frontals and lace fronts with my sewing machine. And I came into so many problems with the sewing machine. Everything from threading the machine, to going too far with the sewing and have to backtrack and unstitch stitches to it has to be the correct type of sewing machine. Like, I need an industrial sewing machine instead of a regular one. Like, it's way more technical when it comes to using a machine. And I appreciate using my hand better. Now, if I could find better materials, so far as caps and things to incorporate into my lace fronts, yeah, they would be a lot better. But sewing by hand, I really get the feel, and I don't have to backtrack by making a mistake like, oh, what did I do? Oh, let me stop. And it takes me 15 to 20 minutes to rethread the spool of thread to continue sewing. I rather do things by hand. Okay, so remember when I said I really don't like really bulky styles, and I like it full, but I don't like it too full. I only doubled one of these tracks, and I think it was the first one that I started with, which was maybe 6 or 7 tracks from the actual lace. Um, and then the rest, on every other track, I added a single track. Like I said, it's already hair there, that is sewn on for the lace. So I would skip a track and put some of that gray in between it, and then I would singly add that loose wave jet black in between, and then I'll skip another track and put the gray hair over it, and single track my way up to the front. That way it's not too bulky. And then too, it'll still help some of that grayish purple color come through the lace, because we're not trying to change the color of the lace. We're just using what we have. So I still want that color to come through. I don't want it jet black in the back. I still want that pretty gray purplish color. So that'll help the color still to pop, and you really won't be able to notice much. That way, when you see it, you'll be like, oh, she did that on purpose. I really did, but not for the reason that you're thinking. It's a cover up. Okay, another technique I use just to see where I'm at when I'm making a lace front, or when I'm upgrading a lace front, rather, I would put it on periodically to see how full it has gotten. So once I got to that last top track near the lace, I had to do a sizing check. One, to make sure I didn't make my lace front smaller because I'm sewing, and two, that I added the correct amount of bundles to my liking without it being overly full. But yeah, I had to try it on and see if it was where I wanted it to be. After I tried it on that first time, I decided that I wanted, I think I added 2 more tracks to kind of like the middle, but you know, past the rest of the tracks that I added. Because I started with my crown. Just to make it full, I added 2 more tracks in the back area. That way it had that flow for me so it can bob, if you know what I mean. Okay, and the moment of truth is when I try her on for the last time and she has that complete thickness and fullness that I'm going for. I'm not into big hairstyles, but you see a lot of the celebrities and the movie stars, the lace fronts that they have are expensive because they are fuller and they have a higher density. This is my way of incorporating a higher density to my unit instead of having a rained out flat look. And my hair flows better. It's just not a regular lace front anymore. You know, it's a little bit more costly, but this way, instead of spending $1,000 on a lace front, you can upgrade any one that you want to a higher density, and you can still get that full, thick celebrity look. Well, guys, that just about sums this video up. I am not trying to keep this video too long. Stay tuned if you actually want to see this lace front laid, slayed, dyed, fried, and laid to the side. I may end up posting this upgrade to my website. If not, I'll be paying for it myself. If I do use it myself, you'll be able to see me install